what is described as the fifth industrial revolution, which is going to pose both opportunities and challenges to us. How are we going to respond to it? From the pages of history, multiple illustrations can be given how technology has facilitated the countries to come up, and even the older who could not adapt themselves to the changing situation went behind. There is no doubt that the technology has the most disruptive impact on society. Changes of technology at a speed, particularly in modern days, are mind-boggling. Even the digital system, the changes are very fast. And as the changes are very fast, how we can adapt ourselves, and for that I do feel, and I can share it with these distinguished assemblies of educationists and experts and also policymakers, that not only we have to inculcate our scientific temperament amidst our people, and the basic ingredients of scientific temperament, as I understand, always we must have a questioning mind. Questioning and inquisitive mind, discerning mind, creative and innovative mind could create the appropriate atmosphere in our academic institutions. Therefore, if we want to face the challenges, which is bound to come as it has happened, world is going to be globalized. A section of the population are really, truly they are going to be the global citizens, not confined to any territory or to any nation states. And in that context, even keeping in mind that it would happen in our state, country, many of our top intellectuals will be really the global citizens. How we can fit in with our national requirements and needs. The second point, which I should have to emphasize, I would like to emphasize, is the trends for the lifelong learning. This trend must be inculcated seriously. Without the lifelong learning process, the educated of today can be illiterate tomorrow. I consider myself illiterate in so far computer, literature, digital literatures, and many other modern updated skills. Constantly we have to equip ourselves, and that can have, if we inculcate in the mind of the students the idea of learning forever. As long as I live, I am to learn, and unless I have the capacity to learn, I will be dead, if not physically, but otherwise. The third aspect on which I would like to emphasize on it, if we want to relate with the situation which is prevailing, we must connect with nature, community, and the nation. And these will be the linkage to the global citizens, to the national citizens. its connection with the community and the nation. We cannot delink ourselves. We cannot diverse ourselves from our community. When I used to have innovative festival in Rashtrapati Bhavan, which became an annual feature, the emphasis which I laid upon that the innovative efforts must be beneficial to the community to which you are living. The day-to-day problems which you and your fellow citizens in your neighborhood are facing, how you can solve it and make it a model which is replicable. I found quite interesting results, and shortly I will be visiting the exhibition organized by Indian Innovation Council at Ahmedabad. That innovative mind is absolutely innovative and creative mind is necessary, and it is to be created. If we can connect ourselves with the nature, and if we can connect ourselves with the community, despite our global thinking, our global approach, global outlook, being a global citizen, we can serve the country, we can serve the community to which we belong to. Fourth point, we must learn. Nowadays, more than often we hear the complaint. Even several times in my address to the people, address to the nation, I mentioned it. And I do believe India can be fiercely argumentative, but India can never be intolerant. Tolerance, acceptance of diversity, celebration of diversity is inherent in Indian civilization. From the very dawn of civilization, Indian people thought and they preached, they practiced that differences must be accepted, it must be appreciated, it must be celebrated. It is not possible to have a straitjacket in which every individual will be molded. That will be a totalitarian system which is not at par with liberal and democratic system. Tolerance is absolutely needed. And I agree when Dr. Amartya Sen, he has elucidated in his marvelous language and way of expression that India can be argumentative, but India cannot be intolerant. Acceptance of other views, acceptance of dissensions, differences are part of our civilization, part of our way of living. And if we keep that in mind, despite there is no confrontation, there is no conflict between our global approach and our being part of our nation. The last point on which I do feel, from the very beginning in our learning process, we must learn to love and respect our institutions. It is institutions which support the system. Without institutional support, no system can last for long. More than often we claim ourselves that we are running the largest functional democracy of the world. By showing numerical statistics, we can have pride that no country of the world, more than 800 million people, I am giving the figure of the last general election held in 2014, where the total electorate were more than 800 million, to select 543 individuals to represent them in Indian Parliament from 543 territorial constituencies spread all over India. The landmass of India, 3.3 million square kilometers. But how this giant system can be supported? How it can be maintained? It can be maintained by the institutional framework. Institutions of independent judiciary, institution of free press, institution of active civil society, institution of independent election machinery. All these institutions help to support the structure of democratic system which covers the life of 1.3 billion people. No other system can help us if we do not have the institutional framework. So we feel respect for the institutions. If we destroy the institutions, yes, we can do it. Destruction of any institution, any system, takes much less time than to create it. 190 years we did not have the right to make any law. Laws were made on behalf of us by the British Parliament, or some laws were made by the Governor General in Council, later days Legislative Council, but the final sources of the authority of that law, they were authenticated by the supreme power which was in the British Crown, which in 1958 through the proclamation of the Queen Victoria, the British sovereignty assumed in itself. Until it continued in 1950, January 26, when we declared ourselves. It's a quite interesting point, and as a student of political science, I wanted to find out what are the reasons. Why the Constitution's authorship of the Constitution is vested in the people of India. Why it is not owned by 296 members of the Constituent Assembly or the 7 members of the drafting committee headed by Dr. Ambedkar as the author of the Constitution, or by Sir B.N. Rao, the consultant of the Constitution, who drafted 326 articles of Indian Constitution through his dictations and presented it to the chairman of the drafting committee, Dr. Ambedkar. Because it was thought necessary that after 190 years, when we are making laws for ourselves, there is no sovereign to declare and give a degree. There is no royal decree. There is no royal assembly. It is the Constituent Assembly. If it is authenticated to be adopted, the ownership must be owned by the entire population of the country. That's why the word we have been used. We the people of India. So we the people of India have established this Constitution. We have established certain rights for the people, which we have mentioned. We have provided justice for the people. Justice, social, economic and political. Liberty. Liberty of thought, faith, expression and worship. Equality of status and opportunity. Equality, liberty, justice. The very spirit of the Constitution has been summed up in the preamble of the Constitution, which is not justiciable, but no judge, no judiciary, who is the ultimate interpreter of the Constitution, can ignore the impact and effect of preamble. Therefore, the point which I am trying to drive at, we must learn to respect the institutions. Institutions support us. Yes, institutions require change, require reforms. That's why reform is not stop and go process. Reform is a continuing process. And that is the vitality of the population, consciousness of the population for which these institutions are meant. I do feel we are facing a serious challenges. And these challenges will have disruptive impact. Therefore, our minds, young boys and girls, those bright and mighty minds, will have to adopt the new tools with which we can face these challenges. I am optimistic because how quickly our younger people, young boys and girls, they understand the inherent problems and try to solve them. And if they are encouraged by their peers, I have no doubt, however disruptive it may be, however fast changing the technology may be, however difficult to adjust with it, the younger generation of India would be in a position to take the challenge with courage in hand and will find that it is converted into opportunities. With these words of optimism, I once again express my deep thanks and appreciations to all of you for the very distinct honor you have conferred on me. Thank you.